Hello, Eli here, back for a collection update video. I have just a ton of stuff to show. And also, if you happen to see, in addition to Louie, if you happen to see another dog come into view, that would be my buddy's dog. He's right here. I don't know if you can see him, but you can't. But anyways, got a ton of stuff. I have a lot of CDs. I have some vinyl records. There he is. But anyways, we'll get started with that. We'll start with the vinyl records. And we will... I don't know how well this is going to go, to be honest with... Yeah, two dogs in the room. Alright, we'll get started here with a cool fucking... I got 3 7-inches, by the way. Let's see, where's the... Okay, this is the one I initially ordered, and then a buddy of mine threw in a couple extras. This is the Nunslaughter Dr. Shrinker... Sorry, split 7-inch. I don't recall what year it came out, so I apologize about the lack of info, but... comes like an orange splatter. Sorry. There you go. Dr. Shrinker. They each contribute a track each. I haven't listened to it yet, so honestly, I'm sure it fucking rules. But I can't really talk much about it. Then we have a Nunslaughter and Decapitator split 7-inch. Nunslaughter, Decapitator. We all know Nunslaughter. I mean, I don't need to really go into detail with them. Decapitator, however, are a band that I think people are much less aware of. It's basically a thrash band with Matt Harvey from Exhumed and some other guys that have been in Exhumed and stuff like that, and other bands as well. Really top-notch shit. They have 2 full lengths, a couple splits. Shh, you guys. Really good shit, honestly. Probably my favorite post-90s or 80s thrash band. Hey, you guys. Sorry, I don't know how this video is going to turn out with the fucking noise, but I'm sure it'll be unwatchable. I'll pull that out for you so you can see it a little better. The Nunslaughter side and the Decapitator side. So if you're a thrash fan and you have never heard Decapitator, you're missing out, honestly, I think. Go check out their 2 full lengths, and I think you'll be blown away. My opinion, I don't know. Maybe I'm overhyping, but that's how I feel. And next we have Graveworm Apocalyptic Raids split 7-inch. It's just black vinyl, so I won't pull that out. I've talked about Graveworm at length, so I probably don't need to go into that. Apocalyptic Raids are a basically self-appointed Hellhammer worship band from, I don't remember, South or Central America. I don't remember exactly, so you'll have to look that up. A couple vinyl records here. I found this one at one of my local shops, and I've been getting into this this band basically starting, I think, this year or maybe last year. This is one that I hadn't heard, and this is one of their 70s albums, so I figured it'd be good. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've read some reviews, and apparently it's not a very good album, but I really like the cover art. 1979, this is Kansas with, what the fuck, what's this called? Monolith. I think that's cool cover. You like the Indian with in the wasteland with the the helmet on and shit. I think it's awesome. Haven't heard the album yet, but I don't know, man. I dig the layout and everything. What I didn't notice, which I feel fucking stupid about, is this shit before I bought it. Some stupid fuck that wrote their name on it, because if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, for some reason people wrote their name on everything. I used to do it as a kid too. You wrote your name on everything, your CDs and your movies and shit. Stupid as fuck. Should have never been a thing. And next, a record I've been wanting to get for a while. It's not rare by any means, I just haven't picked it up yet. Difficult to Cure by Rainbow. This is the era of Rainbow that had Joe Lynn Turner on vocals. Funny thing about Rainbow is, I love Rainbow. I've always been since I was very young, I've been a massive fan of Ronnie James Dio. And when I discovered Rainbow, I only wanted to hear the Dio material, so the first 3 albums, and I totally overlooked the rest. And turns out they're really fucking good. The one with Graham Bonnet on vocals, possibly one of the best Rainbow albums in general, but the Joe Lynn Turner albums are great too. So I feel pretty dumb for missing out on those. And we'll get into CDs now. I have quite a few. This first stack is some stuff that my buddy Marty sent me. Marty Worm, thanks by the way, sent me some stuff here. There were a few more, but I think I misplaced them. They're around here somewhere, but this is the bulk of them. I'll start with possibly the one I liked the most. This is Afterbirth from New York. Brutal death metal, Pathos Productions. If you're a brutal death fan, you're probably aware of these guys. I was vaguely aware of them before this, and this is basically a compilation of their first demo and then a rehearsal demo. So yeah, their early stuff. Quite cool, man. You listen to it, I mean, it's definitely early New York brutal death metal, but I say that in a good way. Basically, so the title is Feticidal Embryo Harvestation. So good stuff. Pick that up. If you're a fan of brutal death, I mean, you can't go wrong. This one right here is a split. It's confusing, to be honest, because I think the bands are Infirmary and The Reprisal. Yeah, okay, that's what it is. When you look it up online, there's not a lot of info you can find on this. The title of it is Unholy Conception. I don't know what is going on with this cover art, though. It's bewildering, to say the least. Check that shit out. What the fuck is going on? I don't know. The music is decent. It didn't blow me away or anything. They're basically two death metal bands with mostly the same members, or a couple of the same dudes. And if you're familiar with Nachachwin, I know you're like, what? You either know them right away or you don't, and if you don't know who they are, you're like, what did he just say? Nachachwin, maybe I'll leave a link or something. I almost never do that, but they are a kind of a folky black metal band on Marty's label. Pretty good stuff. I haven't heard a lot of them. Bind Rune Productions, by the way. I should at least leave a link to that. But anyways, this is a death metal band, two death metal bands with the guys from Nachachwin. Decent. I mean, I didn't blow me away or anything, but I'll probably give it a couple more listens. They are good, musicians and songwriters, to say the least. By the way, I didn't say, I don't think I said, but we got Iron Fire Thunderstorm playing in the background. Power metal from Denmark. I've had this album for years and years, and I just thought I'd throw it back on to reacquaint myself with it. If you're into power metal, you might remember, the kind of power metal resurgence we had in the early 2000s. They were kind of one of the bands that were leading the charge, basically, and this album is considered basically a classic, kind of a modern classic. Upon re-listening to it, I mean, I didn't really think it was that great back then. I don't think it's that great now. There's some good riffs for sure. Some good solos. The musicianship is great. The vocals are really fucking hit and miss, mostly miss, and the songwriting is pretty solid too. But I don't view it as a classic. That's my opinion. Anyways, moving on. I know we're not supposed to talk about this band, and I've never been a huge fan to begin with. But I also think that this guy, I mean, like him or not, he's made some good music, and that's just that's from a non-biased standpoint. Anyways, Knockmistiam with Reign of the Malicious. This is one of his early albums, Regimental Records. One of his early full lengths back when it was just I believe this is when it was okay, never mind. I was going to say this is when it was a one-man project, but that's not true. This is, let's see. So this is a live album? No, I think some of these are live tracks. I don't know. I'm not the biggest expert on Knockmistiam. You'll have to tell me. Okay, I'm sorry. There's some live tracks on here, but this is a studio album. Might be an EP. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure this is when it was yeah, this is back when it was a one man. It was just Blake Judd and then a session drummer. So, okay. Anyway, let's move the fuck on from that. But anyways, I haven't listened to this since I've had it. I have heard it years ago, and it's solid U.S. black metal. Nothing substantial, but it's certainly not terrible. Now we have Steve Grimmett's Grim Reaper, Walking in the Shadows. This is obviously, I mean, it is what it sounds like. This is Steve Grimmett's version of Grim Reaper. I don't know, are there two Grim Reapers right now? I think there is. But why would you want to listen to a Steve Grimmett-less Grim Reaper? So if you want to hear something that sounds more like Grim Reaper, I guess you would go for this one. I mean, the songwriting is good. You know, the musicianship is top-notch. The vocals are good for what they are and how old Steve Grimmett is. He can't hit a lot of those high notes that he could hit in the 80s. I mean, if you're familiar with Grim Reaper, you know, he was I think one of the best vocalists in metal of the 80s. And he's still pretty good, but he's old and he can't quite hit the notes. And what he needs to do is he needs to learn from, like, an example, like maybe like Glenn Danzig. He needs to learn what notes he can't hit anymore, and he needs to adjust his voice accordingly. That said, his performance is not terrible on this, but it could use a little refining. As far as the other three dudes in the band, I'm not exactly sure who they are. I've looked into it before, but I don't remember. Some of them might have been in, you know, the original Grim Reaper. I don't remember. I want to say some of these guys are in Onslaught, but you're gonna have to either research that or teach me. But yeah. Next we have, this is an EP. I remember hearing this some years back, and I heard it on, I heard it through Fenriz's Band of the Week thing that he had going on, or he probably still has that going on. Pretty cool. We got Eliminator with We Rule the Night. I don't remember where these guys are from, but they're younger dudes playing a, you know, basically playing kind of a New World of British heavy metal-esque heavy metal, traditional heavy metal. Like I said, Fenriz liked it. I remember listening to it and thinking, like, all right, this is all right, move on, and I never listened to him again. So now that I own this, I will give it another listen and you know, judge accordingly. Next we have something I'm completely unfamiliar with. I don't know if this is metal or not because I couldn't find any info, at least on Metal Archives. But this is a Black Widow release. Black Widow being the Italian label. Basically, they put out all kinds of Italian doom metal, stuff like that. The band is Cherry 5. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like a terrible band name. Yeah, I guess I probably shouldn't attempt to say that title. If you're Italian, maybe you can read it for me. Anyways, I don't know anything about this. I have not listened to it yet. I assume there is probably a 95% chance this is a doom band. If not, it's some kind of probably like Italian progressive rock or something like that. And there's also a pretty good chance that it'll be good. So I'm stoked to listen to it. I just haven't done so yet. Let me know if you know anything about Cherry 5. And last but not least, until I find the others that he gave me, there's another 4 or 5. I must have forgot to grab them. We have, I'm going to pronounce this the way I've always pronounced it, Peccatum, I don't know. This is I think this is their first full length, Amor Fati, I don't know. This came out on Candlelight back in 2000. This is a project with Isan of Emperor, his wife, and then some dude. Sorry, some dude. This is stuff I haven't heard this album, but I've heard lots of their other stuff. I don't know. There's some pretty terrible reviews if you dig into it, but I'm not going to judge it based on that. But this band basically has had kind of a multitude of sounds going from. Yeah, I'm not even gonna describe it because a lot of their stuff sounds so different. And since I haven't heard this, it'd be stupid to talk about it. But yeah, you can judge it based on what I told you. All I know is I dug up some reviews on this, and they were not so positive. Next, we have a stack of 2018 releases, so that's awesome. I like to keep up with the times. I usually don't do a very good job of that. My good buddy Pat from Ground Zero Salem sent me this. Got Innumerable Forms with Punishment in Flesh. This is their debut full length after having the 2 EPs. And there was quite a gap in between. I'd always wondered what was going on with this band, so I'm glad to see that it's still happening, and he's got a full length under his belt now. Those EPs were really fucking good. This came out on Profound Lore. Sad to say, and not surprising to anyone, I'm sure. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm hearing really good things, and I'm insanely happy to have it. And I will be listening soon. I've had it about 2 weeks now. Here's a band right here that I've known of for a long time. I've heard some of their stuff years and years ago, and I just bought this on a complete whim. We have Orphan Land. I believe they're from Israel. Sorry if I'm wrong. This is their newest album, Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs. Came out on Century Media. They are, at this point, from what I understand, they're basically just a progressive metal band. Definitely Israel. Progressive metal band. They were more of like a progressive death metal band when they started in the 90s. They were kind of more like a Middle Eastern Opeth. That's what I always thought they were, kind of, if you were to boil it down to something simple. But from what I understand, I think they've kind of gotten rid of the death metal, parts of their music, and now it's just kind of just progressive metal. I'm going to stop talking about it because I really don't have anything to say about this album. But it was a totally random buy. I don't know why I bought it, but hopefully it's good. Next we have, these next two are big for me. These are some of my favorite bands. This one being Hakavits from Mexico. Nex Nihil is the title of this. Came out of Moribund Records. Black metal from Mexico. Man, these guys are so fucking good. They started off playing basically Morbid Angel inspired death metal, like on their debut 7-inch, which was very fucking good. And they went on to become more and more black metal to the point where now they are pretty much just black metal. They've gotten rid of kind of all the death metal out of their music. It was kind of a slow progression. Like their first full length was still mostly death metal. Their second full length had a hefty dose of black metal. It was almost more black metal than death metal. Same with the album after that. And then yeah, they're basically a black metal band now. I haven't heard it yet, but it's good from what I have kind of sampled some tracks, and it sounds really fucking good from what I have heard. Next, here's another band that really needs no introduction, but this is their first full length in quite some time. We got Crucifier with Thy Sulphur Throne on High. You can take that artwork in. This came out on Death Rune Records out of somewhere over back east, Pennsylvania, maybe. Yeah. Godly black death metal. Hefty dose of doom in there, of course. Like I said, I've talked about them at length. This is Kaz Grant from Grand Belial's Key. This is basically the band that he had going before he joined Grand Belial's Key, and even after he left GBK, and Crucifier has persevered. Yeah. Once again, haven't listened to this yet, and I really need to. I know it's gonna blow me away because everything that I've ever heard from them is just top notch. Mark Riddick artwork, by the way. Good stuff as always. Yeah, can't wait to hear it. If you've heard it or if you're a fan, let me know. All right, got a couple more CDs here. We have something my collection is happy to have. I've been needing this for a long time. We got the debut full length from Wombath, or Woombath, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, from Sweden. You know this one, Infernal Caustic Torments, or Internal Caustic Torments. Everyone knows this band, everyone's heard this album. This is the Necroharmonic version. So it's pretty cool. Not only does it have the album, it's got the Brutal Mites demo from '92, and it's got the Several Shapes EP from '92 as well. So that's fucking awesome. Yeah. What's his name? Roy from Necroharmonic always does a really good job with his releases, and really everything he does, top-notch shit. Just a great, great Swedish death metal album. Here's at least in my opinion, a kind of cool, chapter out of U.S. black metal. We got Funeral Pyre. Hard to see a black on black, but especially the back. Funeral Pyre were a black metal band, and I'm not an expert by any means, but I've known of them for some time. Black metal band out of Ohio, from the early mid '90s. They had, I think they've gotten back together since, but they had a couple demos. So this is basically a compilation of 3 demos, all 3 of their early demos. But yeah, it's just raw sounding US black metal. Maybe not anything that necessarily really stands out, but it's good stuff actually. If you listen to this from front to back, you can tell the progression that they'd made. You know, by the time you get to demo 3, I mean, you know, they sound a lot more refined, you know, better musicians, better songwriters, better production. It's really good, you know, dark stuff. Here's another thing I've been wanting for a while now. I don't know why it took me so long to get it. I've had like a lot of opportunities to buy this. And you should probably get it too if you're a death metal guy. We have from Germany, Are You Dead? With the compilation Completely Dead. This came out on Sempiternal Productions and Majestic Union Records. Really good stuff, man. This is just early death metal out of Germany. I actually flipped the booklet around because I liked this cover better, but this is the one you're probably most familiar with. These guys were great. A little ahead of their time even. Just some kind of really dirty, thrashy death metal in the. When did this stuff come out? I want to say some of this might have been from the late 80s. I really don't want to sit here and flip through this, you know, while you guys are waiting for me to shut up. I don't remember. Yeah, 89. They formed in 89. Yeah. But anyways, early death metal, really good stuff. I know I'm not the best at explaining things. I'm just, I'm pretty good at, you know, this good, this not so good. But this is good, so go get it. This one I just pretty much got because I'm, you know, who's not a big fan of this band? But we got Beherit live in the Devil Studio, 1990, and it sounds exactly, you know, exactly like what you would expect it to. Rehearsal material from 1990. So it sounds like shit, but it's still Beherit, and it's awesome. A couple more, hang in there. Don't leave me yet. This is a band I've known of for years and years, as well as anyone does. I've never really delved much into their material, but I found this at like a thrift store, I think it was. Killing Joke, Democracy. I know a lot of people that like Killing Joke. I don't know if this is a good album necessarily, or what era this is. I didn't even ever see the year that this came out, but it was like $1, so I picked it up in 95. Hopefully this album isn't totally terrible if it's not one of their best. I mean, that would be kind of a crappy introduction to the band for me to like hear one of their worst albums. I can't say a whole lot for the layout and the cover art and everything. It's pretty 90s, I guess. But anyways, I know, like I said, I know a lot of you guys are probably Killing Joke fans, so let me know. Is that Mickey Mouse? Is that like Mickey Mouse with what's his name's face on the? Anyways, let me know. Talk to me about Killing Joke. This one's kind of cool right here. Whoops. I've never had this album, so it's about time that I've had it. The debut Violence album from San Francisco, Eternal Nightmare. This version is it's a re-release. It's a Megaforce re-release with a bonus disc with live material, and they made it look like it was like an old beat-up vinyl record, which is kind of cool and kind of annoying at the same time. But it looks really real too. When I got this in the mail, I was like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, it's cool because it's different. It differs from the original a little bit. But it's also kind of ugly. I don't know. It's it doesn't matter. I mean, the music is what's important, and this is a really good fucking album. As you know, if you're a thrash fan, I mean, this is some vicious, violent, no pun intended, Bay Area death metal. Out of all those bands that came out of the Bay Area, I mean, this is one of the most caustic and violent albums, or bands, I should say. Got a couple more, 2 more. Both albums that I had never heard previously. Yeah, I still haven't listened to them, actually. Oh, I have some other stuff, too. Like, after this, I'll go grab that. We got Wishbone Ash with Argus. Wishbone Ash were I've talked about them a little bit before. They were a kind of a proto-metal-y, sometimes sort of progressive hard rock band from England, I think. I really don't know a whole lot about this band, other than I've heard some of their stuff, and I'm kind of trying to dig more into it. I've always heard this is possibly their best album, if not just a very good one, so I bought that. Need to hear that soon. I also picked up, I was kind of joking around with one of my buddies the other day. I was saying, you know, I'm going to give Styx one more chance. I have had The Grand Illusion on CD for quite a while now. That album is, you know, it's so highly rated among, you know, rock fans and stuff like that, and I've always just really not liked it. I know these guys are good musicians and they're good songwriters and everything, but I about wrote them off until I heard the Crystal Ball album, and I really liked that album, so I figured I would give them one more shot for having one album that I liked and one album that I really didn't like. And this is their 1975 album, Equinox. This is when they were still more of a progressive rock band. They weren't quite real big yet, and they hadn't become, you know, the pop, kind of the pop rock that they were known for later on. You know, this is kind of a little bit before that, so. I have another small stack of CDs over there I was thinking about grabbing, but this video is approaching half an hour, so I think I'll wait on that. It'll give me stuff to talk about later. Other than that, I've got some really good ideas for future videos, something a little different than what I've done for the longest time, which is just collection updates, you know, collection videos. I think that's getting kind of boring, so I've got some really good ideas. I have a really good idea for an end of list. I've never done an end of list or like a top 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever list, so I have an idea for what I'm going to do about that. It suits me more so than just a definitive list, so we'll get more into that later, probably next month sometime. But anyways, I have a handful of new subscribers, so thank you. Feel free to chime in and talk with me. That's why I do this. So anyways, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk soon. Cheers.